Us gardeners are such optimists. We're always looking to the future. And one of the biggest investments for the future you can make at the moment is planting bulbs. I am always so glad when I've taken a little bit of time to plant a few bulbs in the autumn. Come next spring, they will pop up and make my garden look glorious. A few times that I've missed doing it, I've always so regretted it. So I try and make myself do it, however cold the weather is. The good thing is that tulips actually really like a nice little bit of cold weather, so it's not too late to plant them at all. As a rule of thumb, when you're looking to buy bulbs, make sure that they're nice and firm and plump. Give them a bit of a squidge. You can tell a lot by touch. And have a look at them as well. Make sure they're not going mouldy or battered or bruised. That's a lot easier when they're loose bulbs like this. Not quite so easy when they're in a packet. But even so, you can take them off the shelf and have a good feel through the bag. Just see that they are nice and firm before you buy them. As well as planting tulips, one of my favourite things to plant are dwarf daffodils. I love these little baby daffodils. These are tete-a-tete, one of the littlest daffodils, but it comes up and flowers in February. How fantastic is that? Just when you're thinking that winter is just going on and on forever, up these pop and bring a little ray of sunshine into your life. So I'm going to do a few pots of them now. I've also got this one. This is Sailboat. Look at that, 3 bulbs. And so that's going to give me a lot of flower. Sailboat, touch more elegant than tete-a-tete perhaps. Creamy white with a lemony yellow trumpet and lots of flower. And I'm just going to do a few pots full of them. The other great thing about bulbs, of course, is that they're not just for pots. You can also naturalise them in the garden, you can put them in the lawn, you can do all sorts of things. But for the moment, I'm doing a few pots. I've got here just a good old sustainable compost. One of the nice things about daffodils is that you can really pack them into the pots. They really don't mind being jammed in together. And so I think I'm going to put the sailboats in here. As a general rule of thumb, when you're planting bulbs, it wants to go down 3 times the depth of the bulb. But that isn't quite so important when you're planting pots, because they're not going to necessarily be in here forever. So you can actually plant them quite close to the surface. I often do a few pots full like this to give away as presents. They make really good Christmas presents. I reckon that's about it. I'm just going to put a little sprinkle of compost on the top. Now these need to stay outside, and what I would do, or what I will do, is I am going to put a little bit of chicken wire over the tops of the bulbs just to keep the squirrels off them. Otherwise they will have them, they'll be digging them up and hoarding them, and I'll end up with daffodils all over the place. One of the other little pots that I wanted to show you as well is these. These are a little thing called Scilla sibirica, or it's just starting to sprout. And these are dainty little bulbs. They are absolutely cobalt blue when they flower. They are the most delicious shade of blue. And I'm just going to do a little potful. These naturalise absolutely brilliantly, and they will look wonderful if you put them under shrubs. They like being a little bit shady, so quite handy. Under shrubs, under trees, they'll look great. But I'm just going to do a couple of little pots full as presents for some friends. And again, a little bit of the compost. These ones I am going to put at the right depth. It's about 3 times the depth of the bulb. So if you look at that, that is probably about 2 centimetres, so it needs to go around about 6 centimetres down. And that applies to pretty much all the bulbs that you can think of. There we go. I quite like the simplicity of just having one plant in a pot, one single variety. But you can do the whole layered bulb thing where you put in several different types of bulbs in the one pot in layers on top of each other, because the bulb depths are different. So, having planted up my little pots, it's now time to move on to something a little bit bigger. I'm going to plant up a slightly bigger pot this time with tulips. And I've got these fantastic tulip bulbs. This is a variety called National Velvet with lovely deep red velvety flowers and really huge stonking bulbs. They're lovely, absolutely lovely. The important thing to remember with tulip bulbs is that they really do need to go in at 3 times their depth. And so these will need to be, look at the size of that bulb, so another one again and another one again. So it's going to be fairly deep down in the pot. And that's quite important. The other thing that you need to remember with tulips is that they mustn't be touching. If they're touching, they're very prone to spreading a rather nasty disease which just leads to abject failure. And so it's actually really important that the bulbs are kept separate enough to not be touching. So I'm only going to put about, well, no more than 10 bulbs in this pot, which will still give me a really good show. Don't forget to give them a little squidge again. And then I'm just going to fill in over the top, and that is job done. But it's not just about planting in pots. You can naturalise tulips, or any bulbs actually, pretty much straight out into the ground. And one of the things I'm going to be doing is planting these alliums. Look at these. They're stonking great bulbs. They're absolutely wonderful. These are those giant onions, you know, that get really tall and you have these big purple flower heads on them. They will flower in around about May, June, just when I'm thinking that's it for the bulbs. It's all over and done with. These will pop up and be an absolute glory. And believe me, it doesn't take too many of these to make a real impact in your garden. So that is just what I'm going to do. The crucial thing to remember when you're naturalising bulbs, even from the tiny little scillas to whopping great bulbs like these alliums, is that you want them to look really random. You want them to look as if they planted themselves. Nature doesn't do rows, and neither should you. And the easiest way to get that random look is really just to stand in the middle of your border with either a single bulb if they're big bulbs or a handful if they're smaller bulbs, and literally just drop them. And where they land, that's where you plant them. And that will give you your really random look. Now, I've got my work cut out planting this lot, so I'll see you in the depths of winter. Join me for a load of ideas, hints and tips for your garden.